Hello and welcome back to another episode of Wealth and Christ Show, a show where we inspire the masses to become financially free while building God's kingdom. On the show today, we have Miss Raquel Curtis. Miss Raquel Curtis, also known as the Boujee Banker, is an investor, business owner, and a money coach. And through workshop coaching programs and her book, Mastering Your Money Mindset, she empowers women worldwide to achieve financial success and personal growth. In this episode, we'll be discussing Miss Raquel's success and how she empowers women to become financially free. So thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I
How
love
are you
what
doing today?
I'm doing great. We're getting everything situated for the conference. It's been a very busy past few weeks, but I'm super happy we had some time to talk.
That's good. That's good. For those who may not know you, can you give us a quick background on who you are?
Yeah, so my real name is Raquel Curtis, but I'm known as the Bougie Banker online, and I am a mother of three. I have a 16-year-old, an 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old, all girls. And then I have a Corso, which is my big boy. So I'm currently in my doctoral program. I'm studying quantitative data analysis through my DBA program. And I have an online business where I coach women on the ability to learn how to budget, save, and invest their money. You mentioned that I have authored one book, which is Mastering Your Money Mindset, but I actually recently co authored another book that Les Brown wrote the foreword on, and it's called Money Talks. So it's a collective of different authors, all giving, our financial suggestions, opinions, and some gave their advice on things that would really help move everyone forward. So yeah, I'm here. I'm happy, and I'm ready to help as best I can.
That's great.
Oh,
Hey,
well, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
you can continue. You can continue. You can continue.
You just yeah, no, I did it right. I think you said you just wanted to know about me, not how I got here, right? Yeah, so we're good.
Yeah. So congratulations on your book. That's you just recently released with Les Brown. That's definitely a great achievement.
Thank you.
Um, I want to ask, 'cause doing some research, I realized that you was a banker. You at one point in your career. Could you tell us more about, what you learned as a banker and what you could share to us as people who may not have experience being a banker?
You know what? Being a banker really shaped everything that I'm doing now. Before I became a banker, there were other aspects of my life that I was doing. Like I've tried to be an entrepreneur before, a couple of times. And there was an experience that happened there where I thought I was having a successful business, like I owned a gym. And unfortunately, I got into a car accident. And so when that happened, I lost everything. And when I was able to work again, I worked three jobs. So I was working front desk at a hotel, I was selling life insurance, and I was working overnight doing security at FedEx. So at this point in time, I'm like working to earn money to chase the lifestyle that I lost when I owned the gym. But I didn't have any sense of financial wholeness or wellness or anything like that. So once I kind of got myself together through all of those things and I started to learn how to budget, I started to learn how to save, I was investing. My friend, she was like, "You should be a banker." And I was like, "Girl, I don't like math. I would never be a banker." But having that stability, having those benefits and everything like that, I was like, this could be a good opportunity. Little did I know it would be the most life-changing experience of just ever. When I was a banker, I was able to see people from the perspective of where I pulled myself out of. Um, and I was able to look at people's accounts and I could see like if they're sitting at my desk, they might have all designer on, but their accounts are in the negative, or they're an elderly person and they're living negative social security deposit to negative social security deposit. And I get to see all these different walks of life and I get to study them and I get to determine, hey, can I help them based off of similar situations? Or wow, I'll make sure that I don't make similar mistakes that they made. So in the future, my kids and I can be okay. So the what being a banker afforded me on in a way that I didn't think that it would. is I was able to see so many different walks of life and what different decision making actually did for you rather than just hearing about it on social media or, somebody pulling you aside and talking to you. You could see the positives and negatives of proper money management. And I was able to help people who had the same financial picture that I had before I became a banker because I was able to pull myself out of it before I became a banker. So I would do budgets for them, complimentary. There was nothing like I just wanted to help people. The other side of it is you learn a lot on the banking end about policies, procedures, um, things that you don't typically think about on a day to day basis when it comes to money. And it helps you position your money differently. So, for instance, keeping your money in a standard savings account versus wanting to put it into a high yield savings account. Those type of little things that we wouldn't think about, you get privy to once you start to put yourself in financial places. So, yeah.
No, thank you for that. And I want to ask a quick question in regards to the business that you have before you have this online business, because many entrepreneurs, I'm sure, can relate to. They think they have a business that is strong, has a strong foundation, but until life actually hits them, or life punches them in the mouth, as people say, they realize that their foundation is not that strong. So I guess what would you say you learned from that experience, and you're not applying to this, while you're building your online business now, to make sure you don't fall into that same, or the same way, or fall into that same trap?
So the business, I had two businesses prior. One was an in-home daycare, and then the other one was my gym. The biggest lesson that I took away from that is that I needed to be able to have my business stand up without me. So it had to continue to operate even though I wasn't able to be physically present. Um, when I got into the car accident, it was an older gentleman. He T-boned my vehicle. I was in a neck brace for about 6 months, bunch of spinal injections. I was not physically able to do anything, and I brought in the majority of the income into my business. Although I had like other coaches and things like that, the majority of it fell on my shoulders. When I stepped into this space, so, fast forward, business closed, worked all those jobs, became financially well, became a banker. I wasn't intending on quitting being a banker. I thought that I was going to climb the corporate ladder. I finished my master's while I was a banker. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I lost my job. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to take all of those experiences from when I previously owned a business, couple it with the knowledge that I have now, and that's what I'm going to have that's going to help me move forward. So there were two big mistakes that I made prior. One, I didn't have systems in place to allow my business to be successful without me. Two is I knew how to make money, but I didn't know how to manage it. So like there's this thing where like we know how to hustle, we know how to go get the money, but it's like once we get it, I don't know if it's an Atlanta thing, I'm not really sure, but like people want people to see that they have money now, so they want to spend it. And once I stepped into this space of I'm going to have an online business where I'm helping people with their money, it's been my focus to say, if I need to take a break, can my business run without me? What systems do I need to have in place to do that? And I started to build a team around me in order to make that happen.
That's amazing. And I'm glad that you able to get through that accident, and you're able to tell your story all around the world. I want to ask, based on that experience, losing your job in the pandemic, and as we're seeing in the news, a lot of companies, specifically tech companies, are starting to lay off people because of budget and AI. How would you advise individuals to view the employment, given the unpredicted nature of job security, such as the pandemic, budget cuts, that can lead to termination by the employer?
Yeah, it's interesting what the pandemic ended up doing. I don't think like even my job, I was considered as an essential employee. So I didn't think I was going to lose my job. Um, but it's interesting. I think a lot of businesses realized they didn't need to have as many people in office in order for them to run their business. And then when AI came into place, a lot of the um, simple tasks could be taken over by AI. And so that caused people, having the mask of a hiring freeze and layoffs and these type of things. The whole thing about that is the company is best interest is to protect their bottom line. So if it makes sense to bring in AI that can do something more efficient than what a human can do, and it's going to cost them less in the long run, then that's what they're going to do. The way that, and it's so interesting, right? Before we created machines and systems to support humans, but I feel like we're transitioning to where now it's the humans who are going to have to support the machines and the infrastructure that the machines create. So I feel like when we're in this space of the technological age or the informational technological age, we should be looking at what do I need to study that can support the systems that are likely to replace the tasks that I'm currently doing. And I think that that will equip people to be more hireable in the long run because as AI develops, it's only going to cost people more jobs in the long run. A lot of these jobs that we had in the past are not gonna they're not gonna be sustainable in the future.
You're 100% right. And I want to add, because you said, before you became a banker, you already built yourself to where became financial free. What were certain things that you did during that time to get yourself to become financially free?
The thing that I struggle with the most was that I got tired of feeling like I was overworking myself and there wasn't anything coming from it. You know, working at the front desk of a hotel, selling life insurance, and working overnight doing security, I was constantly trying to figure out ways that I could bring in money because I missed what we lost. It was like a year of me not working. And so when I would get paid, of course, I wanted to do stuff for my kids. I felt like, oh, I'm working so hard. I deserve to treat myself. And what I noticed was I was constantly putting myself in this paycheck to paycheck cycle, even though I was overworking myself. So eventually I got to the point to where I just felt tired of being tired. I was completely burnt out. I felt guilty for doing, things for myself. There's a lot of anxiety that came with it because I wanted to be in a different position in my life, but I wasn't there. And one of the things that I started doing was I was Googling and YouTubing, you know, workshops and free templates and all these things. And I would start attending all this stuff. And even after I would attend it, like I'm in it, in the workshop, I'm paying attention, I'm jotting down the notes, I'm doing all the things, I'm downloading the templates, filling them out, I'm getting budgets, and I'm so excited about it. But like 2 weeks after I'm doing this thing, like a week to 2 weeks, and the excitement goes away and the motivation went away and life would happen, I would go right back into those same habits and behaviors. So I had to have a real deep conversation with myself. And I was like, well, if this stuff is working for everybody else, and I see all these testimonies from everybody else, and it's not working for me, then the problem has to be me. So then I started to do a lot of inner work and asking myself some harder questions around money. And I realized that while most people think, okay, well, if the issue is money, if I go make more money, then my problems go away. But the issue is actually internal because it has to do with your relationship with money. So I was like, okay, where did my relationship with money start? How did my parents deal with money? What were their conversations around money? What did I witness as far as how transactions uh, occurred between, did they work really hard and then just try to keep the bills paid, or was other things valued and that's what they were spending their money on? Like, so where's my value attachment with money, and what was I prioritizing with my finances? So when I really got down to the nitty gritty and I was honest with myself, and then I was able to create some boundaries around how I was spending my money. I was able to create boundaries around other people as it was related to my money. And then I was able to identify where I had impulsive behaviors as it related to my finances. So doing those things made the budget easy to stick to. I feel like a lot of people make that mistake. We look at money as a financial thing when it's really a mental thing.
Hmm. That's not financial. That's what I meant to. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. So with my clients, right? I have clients that make six figures. I have clients that make $50,000 to $60,000 a year. You'd be surprised the number of people who make six figures who are still living paycheck to paycheck, and you'd be surprised the number of people who make $50,000 to $60,000 a year and are more at financial peace than those who make six figures. If you don't heal your relationship with money, it doesn't matter how much money you make because you're still going to have the same mentality that kept you living paycheck to paycheck. Now, you might be able to know how to go get the money, but if you don't know how to manage it, it's not going to make a difference. You're just going to look good and be broke. And who wants to do that? Nobody. Nobody wants to do that.
Nah, you're 100% right. And it's funny you said that. I think I was looking at a statistic recent where it said like almost 40% of people who are making six figures are actually still living paycheck to paycheck. And um, I agree with you. The mindset has to change. But before we go any further, I want to quickly ask, about your faith, in Christ through this journey from getting to accident, from building yourself up, going through the mindset change to that banker, losing your job, to now where you are, where you're teaching people across the globe about how to become financially free. How has your faith play a role in this journey?
My faith is still holding me on right now. We before the recording, I was telling you about we're planning for the conference, and it's literally I cannot and will not ever forget to give God credit on any aspect of any of this. When people ask me like, oh man, it seems like you live like four different lifetimes, in the span of everything that you've gone through, between the failed businesses, between the me losing my job, between like, the sacrifices and all these things. Internally, there's a will just not to quit. Like I'm not afraid of failing. But I also know that God wouldn't give me a vision that I can't see through. So through all, like matter of fact, this one thing just happened earlier today, and it was a DJ for the event. And at first she was like, I can't do it. We ended up changing the event date. And she was like, yeah, I have it locked me in. I had 30 other DJs lined up and I didn't want to work with any of them. I wanted her. Thankfully, she was like, I have it. I dropped my phone. I was like, God, thank you so much. I'm so happy that she could be the DJ. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I was the only person that I wanted. And it just so happened every other thing started to fall in line. But because I listened to what I felt was the right thing to do, which I can only say what people will call their intuition, I would say, like, it's God talking to me, telling me, like, this is what you need to do. So it's every day, every step I take, every move I make.
Amen, 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 amen to that. And let's leave my next question in terms of, what inspired you, talking about your confidence, playing confidence, and what just happened soon. Like, what inspired you to start sharing your knowledge on financial literacy and business ownership?
Mm, I I like helping people. And I know that I was called to help people. To what capacity, I was never sure. Right? Like when I had my gym, I was like, great, like I'm here to help people with weight loss and all this, but it quickly turned into motivation and mindset. And once I lost my gym, I wanted to work a job, and I was like, I'm gonna go and just have a career. I think it's interesting. If you're an entrepreneur, you have the spirit of an entrepreneur, there's always that voice in your head, and you're always like, what about if I did this? And you're always writing down all these little ideas and these things that you're going to do, or you wake up in the middle of the night and you're writing stuff down. That's you having an entrepreneurial spirit. And so, moving into the space that I'm in now, I knew that I was going to help people. I didn't know to what capacity. Even when I was a banker, I had a little card, and from Bob Proctor, from a conference I attended. And I said, I'm so happy and grateful now that I earn $100,000 a year helping 1,000 people. And it said by December 31st of 2020. Oddly enough, I lost my job December 3rd, 2020, right? That's odd, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't know it would be in the space of finances. I didn't know that my test would become a testimony. I just thought I was trying to figure life out like everybody else. But I'm grateful for everything that I went through, because when I share my story with the ladies that I help, it motivates a lot of them to push through the things that they're going through financially. So did I ever think I'd be in finance? No, I never even claimed to like math. Okay. Like, but I'm good with understanding people's thought process around money. And I'm good with breaking down complex things around money, just to make it simple. And I've helped a lot of people. So I feel like God has called me to be here, and I'm really grateful to be here to help people.
Into that.
Yeah.
And amen to that. So I guess, my question I want to ask, with helping female, for a young lady who may be watching is, what would you say are some practical steps, she can take towards building wealth for herself and her family?
Yeah, so the first thing you need to do is be honest with yourself. We do a great job of putting on a facade for the world. Meaning, they say what happens in this house stays in this house. You go out this house, you don't tell nobody, type of thing. We carry that with us. So even into adulthood, what's going on with you financially, what's going on in your household, you step out, you put on this facade, and you are just this strong person all the time. But then what happens is when you're so comfortable lying to everybody else, you start lying to yourself. And so the first thing you need to do is you need to be honest with yourself about where you are financially. Open up the bank accounts, really take a look at where you are right now versus where you would like to be in life. And don't ignore the debt. Okay. We need to open that up too. And just take a moment and comb through your statements and take two highlighters, one to highlight all your needs, one to highlight all of your wants, and total them up and see if what you spent on your wants either equated to or exceeded what you spent on your needs. From there, you're going to highlight that number and say, this is what's eating away from my prosperous season. This is what's eating away from me getting to where I want to go. And then once you identify that, then you can start to restructure your money moving forward to say, all right, next month I want to challenge myself instead of spending all this on once. I see that I can divide this and I can take $100 a month or $50 a month off of this. And I'm going to go ahead and plan that to go to savings, or I'm going to plan that to go to investing. I'm going to plan that to go to my debt repayment. And you begin to work on your structures with yourself. But you have to be honest with yourself first. You have to get control of your relationship with money first. And then once you do that, once you've identified your financial triggers, once you set and determine how you're going to create healthy boundaries around your triggers, then go into your budget. So you mentioned some key steps that they can take. Be honest with yourself, dig into your relationship with money, ask yourself those hard questions around money. If you need help, my book, Mastering Your Money Mindset, that's literally what it is. It's a self-guide book to help you do that. Then once you do that, then you go into the budget. When you go into the budget, you need to identify where you're going to budget, where you're going to save, where you're going to invest, and where you're going to pay down debt. Once you do those things, you need to figure out how you're going to separate your finances. So I always say have one main bill account, have a free spend account. That might be a prepaid loaded debit card. That might be a Cash App card that you just put the money on. So this is for your free spend. So when you spend it up, that's it. And it's not affecting your main bill account, right? And that helps you create more structures and boundaries around yourself. So you can still have your fun. You can still live bougie. Okay. We're just going to do it to where it's a little bit more balanced.
You're right. And I guess I want to ask about that, your mantra, living bougie. How can people do that without, find themselves living paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah. So the whole purpose of my brand is living bougie and balance, which means have the things, do the stuff, but let's do it to where it's not going to cause us to be, in the hole financially. So how you do that is you plan ahead. We know things come around every year. We know birthdays come around every year. We know, the holidays that come around every year. If you like to vacation once or twice out of the year, sis, like we know the things we like to do. So instead of just waiting until these things come up to try to figure out what overtime you need to work, to try to figure out if you need to pull on a side hustle, just go back in your statements and say, okay, well, I see around my birthday every year, I spend X amount of dollars. Let me take that number and divide it by 12. And I'm going to create a savings account, potentially with Ally. This isn't sponsored, but I like Ally and they have different buckets. So I'm going to create a birthday bucket for myself in this high yield savings account. And I know that on average, I spend, maybe let's just say $600 every birthday. Let's just say that. All right, we're going to divide that by 12. So every month you need to put $50 aside in this bucket that automatically comes out. So when it's time for your birthday to come, you're not all your bills are covered. Everything else is covered. You plan for this. Go live your best life with those $600. You can use that same mindset around Christmas, same mindset around anybody's birthdays that you celebrate, same mindset around any type of traveling that you want to do. That's creating balance. And it's not taking away from the things that you love to do. The problem that I feel like a lot of people run into is that we wait last minute to do stuff, and then now we have to borrow money, or now we have to make payment arrangements on other things because we are going to do the things that make us feel good regardless, right? And if you haven't identified what that looks like and how much that's going to cost you month over month to make that happen, you're going to end up making some bad financial decisions in order to do what you like to do.
It makes sense. And I guess my question I want to ask you that, because oftentimes very easy when you want to live the life that you want to live, to find yourself going to credit cards or taking out loans. I guess how would you advise people, especially in this current economy, to go about using credit cards, or do you even advise people, the women that you deal with, about credit cards, debts, and loans?
So I would definitely have to just put this disclaimer out there. This is a suggestion. This is not financial advice.
Financial advice.
Yeah, I
Yes.
have to put that out there. But one of my students, she literally just froze her credit cards. Not called the credit card companies and froze them. I said, sis, look at your money. And she looked at it and I said, put the cards down. I was like, go get a Ziploc bag, put the cards in there, fill it up with water, close it, stick it in the freezer. I was like, before you make another financial decision or impulsive decision around your money, you have some time to think about it. So she
Yeah.
literally has to defrost her cards before she can use them, right? So it's a method and measure around her because now it's like putting herself on timeout. She doesn't have physical access to her cards. Um, it's easy to trick ourselves and say, you have more money than what you have because you have access to a credit card. So then that's how people get stuck in that debt cycle. What I would suggest you do is when you get the card, don't look at it for the available balance, look at it for the utilization, right? So if you know that you have $1,000 credit card, you know your utilization is supposed to be 10%. Okay, well then we know we're not spending more than 100 on this card. Or identify that you're going to use this card only for gas. And you're going to use this card only for groceries because of the rewards points. People tend to start out with the right mindset. Like, yeah, under 30%, I'm going to do that. And then they get comfortable and they're like, okay, I know I have the money in my account, but I have this card and I can just pay less on the card month over month and they get to swiping. You can trick yourself into a lot of debt very quickly using that mindset. If you struggle with that, you might want to put your cards in the freezer and you might want to get some prepaid debit cards and load the prepaid debit cards and just get used to saying having a gas card, a grocery card, a free spend card. And then once you get used to that, then maybe transition the gas card over to a credit card. And when you fill up your tank, go ahead and just pay that amount off, right, on the card so that you can keep the utilization down, but you're still using the card and it's really favorable from the creditors. Um, I know you probably might ask, why do I suggest using the prepaid card instead of just having cash and paying the cash? The reason why I would say that is because I see a lot of people do the envelope challenges. I see a lot of people do the envelope stuffing. All that stuff looks really cute. Like I really love watching it. Like people just love people stuffing little envelopes cash. The problem is none of that is insured. So if there's a house fire, if you have a toddler that likes to grab stuff, if you're clumsy and you spill something on it, whatever, that money is not insured. So it's best to say if you're going to do the whole cash stuffing method, wherever you cash your check out, probably at the bank, get one of the private rooms, divvy your money up in the envelopes, and then go ahead and deposit it or load up one of the prepaid cards with whatever the envelope is suggested for, because the prepaid cards are FDIC insured. So you could lose it, someone can steal it, whatever, but you're going to get your money back. If something happens with the cash, that's it. And most people who pay renter's insurance, they're not going to protect more than like $200 in cash.
Wow. Wow. I never thought about that. I always like, oh, this is a cool idea, though. But yeah,
It's cool. It looks great. It
yeah, it
looks
does.
great. Yeah.
It literally looks great. Um, I never thought about that. But thank you for sharing that. I want to ask, once people get their budget in, and I guess they're no longer struggling with that, how should they go about investing? Should they look to buy real estate? Should they look into get invested against the stock market? How would you advise people to go about which asset class to go about investing in? Do you suggest?
I was gonna say I was gonna say. So I definitely there's different rules of thumbs of saying like should I wait till I'm out of debt to invest? I don't think so. There's a lot of missed opportunities when we prioritize paying off debt over saving and investing. I think that you can do all three. I think it just requires you to have a budget that you're sticking to and your debt repayment strategy. But when it comes to investing, I would suggest you take a look at your investment goals. I think everyone should be investing into index funds. It's a great way to build long-term wealth. I know on social media it's like glamorized, to go in the aggressive markets and get to the bag and all this stuff, but slow wealth is real wealth. You can get rich quick, but yeah, it takes some time to build wealth. And so you can look at your budget and say, okay, well, I have $100 a month I can invest into the marketplace. Well, I don't really understand how to invest. So what are my options? With the index funds, you have the advantage of multiple companies being paired together. So like the S&P 500 is the top 500, companies paired together. And it minimizes your amount of risk significantly, but you're able to take advantage of the growth of the marketplace. So whereas the growth range of the S&P 500 is like 8 to 10% annually, although in 2023 it grew by 24%, right? So I think was it 24 or 16? Make sure I get my numbers right. I believe it was 24%. It may have been 16, but I believe it was 24%. Either way, it's a significant amount for long term.
Yeah.
So if you put that $100 in a low risk, potentially high reward marketplace, such as the S&P 500, you're taking advantage of that growth over time. Whereas if you were to say, well, I want to take on more risk, and you put it in the stock market, the foreign exchange market, options trading, cryptocurrency, but you don't have the knowledge base behind it, the likelihood of you losing that money is very high. So all those investment vehicles are high risk, high reward places. So for example, let's say I wanted to invest in
Tesla.
in Tesla. And so let's say with Tesla, I buy an individual share of Tesla. Now all of a sudden Tesla cars, all right, it's going great. I'm up. I put $100 in Tesla. I'm up $50. Man, that's like 50% growth. I'm doing great. However, we find out Tesla cars don't start in the wintertime and they're freezing and all this stuff. And now people are selling their shares. And so now where you put the $100 in, now we're noticing that that $100 is worth 80 because your whole $100 is affected by the performance of that one company. Whereas let's say Tesla was in an index fund or a mutual fund. Well, Tesla's not performing that great, but Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all of those are performing wonderful. So it's going to hold up your portfolio. So you have these other companies that are holding that portfolio up. So that's where I would suggest if you don't have the time to study the fundamentals of the marketplace, if you don't have time to understand or study the technical analysis around the marketplace, I would suggest you stick with simple methods like index funds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds. But if you have the time and you want to study the marketplace, individually investing into stocks can be a phenomenal option for you.
Like 100% right. And that was something I personally had to learn this past year. Being in fact, if I don't have enough time to look at the individual stock, it's just better for me to invest with an index fund because by the time you calculate and you look at all these different things to invest in an individual stock, you can lose out 6 or 7% if you were just invested in an index fund. And I want to ask a question, because your mother of three,
Yeah.
and people will. I guess my question. I guess I ask it two ways. What is your day? What does your day to day look like? That's what I'll ask that first. What does your day to day look like as a mother of three? Imagine an online business trying to empower women across the world. What does your day to day look like?
If you ask any mom what her day to day looks like, she's gonna laugh. It's all different. We have this idea of how we would like our day to flow. School days are, easier to manage. So, I wake up 4:35 a.m. every morning. My kids, they're up between 5:36 to get ready for school. I take them to school during the cold seasons because I don't like them being at the bus stop. So I'm back home usually by like 7:30. I take between 7:30 and 11 a.m. is my time. I don't take any appointments until 11 a.m. So that gives me time to work out, to eat breakfast, to work out, to, shower, to do anything I need to do for myself as far as my morning routine is concerned. And then I get my schoolwork done. I do a little bit of reading. 11 a.m. I start taking my appointments, one-on-one calls, partnership, sponsorship, collaboration calls. And then I have my coaching sessions that I do with my ladies. We do those on Monday nights. I have accountability calls with them on Wednesdays, but I remember I told you about those systems that are in place. So I have a team of people. My accountability calls are done by someone who went through my program. She wanted to come back and help, so she's over them. I pop in every now and again to check on them. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have team meetings for the conference that we're putting together. And then I have my scheduled IG lives. On a weekly basis, I meet with my team on, just the back end side of stuff to make sure everything's flowing well, funnels, promotions that we're running out, things we're about to sell. So basically 11 a.m. to about 6 p.m. is really like meetings. I get my kids off the bus around 2 or 3 o'clock, spend a little bit of time with them. They have their snack, they start their homework. I stop around 6 p.m., try to get dinner started, and then they eat at 7. And then I have my coaching calls that start at 8. So between that 6 to 7 o'clock block, my kids are taking their showers and everything. They eat dinner. I do my coaching calls at 8. 9 o'clock is their bedtime. I'm off my coaching calls by 9 o'clock. Get my kids, tuck them into bed. We all have our own little like individual things that we do. And then I come back, wrap up, write down things that I didn't get done for the day that I want to complete the next day. And then we start the circus all over again. It's great. It's great.
And I guess just for a mother who's listening or a woman, who may have kids, as many kids as you, how would you advise, and they struggling financially, how would you advise or encourage them right now to see the light at the end of the tunnel, not to give up, not to get overwhelmed, not let the anxiety get to them? How would you encourage them?
One thing that we as mothers do is we always put ourselves last. And we do that because we don't know what else to do. We know our kids need us, so we're going to put ourselves last. When it comes to finances, we don't tend to say like, okay, I need a budget for my children. We just get them whatever they need and half the time get them whatever they want. But we have to start looking at our children to say like, what's the cost per child for their needs, their wants, these type of things. And we need to start creating plans around that, price checking things, and also just creating some boundaries around our own children, because some of us really struggle with that. Like, oh, if my child wants it, I'm going to get it for them, that type of stuff. But what is it really costing you long term, opposed to setting those healthy boundaries? Also, when it comes to our kids, when we're always putting them first, we have to check ourselves and say, am I spoiling my child to the point to where it's causing them delayed growth later on, right? Because you can get them everything they want and not teach them value placement. And then they get to a certain age and it stops being appreciation and starts being expectation, but might not be in the financial place to do the things that they're expecting you to do because you've always done, right? So it's being a mom is hard. There's no playbook to it. There's no real guide. You have to kind of figure it out. And even though I may think I do a lot of things right with my kids, there's no process. You have to learn as you go. So what I would say to the moms out there, especially if we're talking about finances, plan your meals ahead. That helps save costs on money with the groceries. Their birthdays, celebrations, shopping for them. Like, just do a lot of price comparison and searching, because with having 3 girls, they grow fast. And I know your kids are growing quickly. And, I didn't raise my kids to be Jordan, Nike, Dunk kids. My kids, I told them since they were little, you're going to be in Granables and Walmart clothes until you stop growing. So my elementary school kids, they're cute now. Why don't sleep on the department. Don't sleep on them. They are cute. But my high schooler, she's done growing. So she gets the more expensive things because she's done growing and she knows how to take care of her stuff. My 11-year-old, my 8-year-old, we're running up to Ross, we're running up to Walmart, and that's where they're getting their stuff from, because I know that I don't need to spend a lot on them because they're growing, they're going to ruin things quickly.
You're 100% right on that. And that leads us to ask, how do you advise parents to teach kids about money? especially at a young age, I think I was looking at the statistic, by the time wealth is passed down to the second generation, is like 50%. But by the time it gets to the third generation, it's like literally 1% of people have that wealth. So how would you encourage, parents, while they're raising their kids, provide for them to teach them financial principles?
So, a lot of what you said has a lot to do with the systems not being in place. Having a trust, having an estate plan, that has a lot to do with it because people will inherit their grandmother's home or their mom's house and then they not be have the credit that where it needs to be. Now they have to qualify for the home and they can't qualify for it, for they lose it or the house goes to probate. You're trying to fight for these things, these assets. Another part of it has to do with them not being taught. A large conversation in a lot of our households were stay out of grown folks' business. As long as you got a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food in your stomach, don't worry about it. And so, what that does, especially when it comes to money, is it keeps a child in a child's place and they become an adult with a childlike mindset around money. So, what I would suggest you do is start to teach them value placement at a young age. We don't have to give them everything they want, they can earn some of those things. Our children, they love games and they love, Roblox and whatever. Like my oldest, she loves sneakers. Okay, yeah, you can get these sneakers, but you're going to earn them. So, what I do with my kids is for every financial literacy and personal development book that they read, they earn money towards the thing that they want outside of like birthday stuff and things like that. Like I get that for them. But if my child wants something that costs 30 or 40 bucks and it's just a want, nothing more than that, okay, cool. Go to your library area, pick out personal development books, pick out financial literacy books. You're going to earn something for each of that. And we put the picture on the wall, we put a little Ziploc bag underneath of it. And every time they do that, they cash in their money towards the thing. Now, two things happen. Number one, they've earned it. So they're going to value it more and they're going to respect it more. And number two, they might realize that they don't actually want the thing to begin with, right? Because time has passed by and they've had to earn it. Um, and I've learned that they treat the things better that they've earned than the things that I've just given them. So it's really cool. That's a simple way that you can start.
I understand. I think that's everyone. We treat things better that we earn than things that are given to us. And
Yeah.
I want to quickly give you the opportunity to talk about some of the programs. You mentioned your coaching program. How can people get involved in your coaching program, or course, if you have?
Yeah, so I have one my favorite class to teach honestly is my stocks one-on-one class because I do know how misinformed people are when it comes to the marketplace and I just love breaking it down. We do fundamental analysis of the marketplace. You guys understand, get to learn technical analysis of the market space and like the basic structures of how to mark up a chart. I get to test your knowledge, show you reputable brokers, walk through terminology, all that stuff. So if you've been wanting to get into the investment space and really struggling with the stock market, that is a phenomenal, affordable class to take. Um, with my coaching program, it's an 8-week finance accountability program. You go through the whole process of your relationship with money, going through your financial assessment, um, like digging through your statements, getting your budget in place, your credit, going through the debt process, and then being held accountable with your budget through that whole thing. It's great. Like so it's changed so many women's lives. Then outside of the stock 101 class and outside of my coaching program, I do have a credit class that I teach. But honestly, I would recommend the other two over anything else. Or if you're at the start of your journey, I would recommend you grab the book. My book is $29.99. If you are really struggling with living paycheck to paycheck and trying to figure out what to do, that's a self-guided book. It will force you to ask the hard questions around yourself that will shape your mind for the process of getting to where you need to be. So that's a phenomenal resource for you. But anyone who is tuned into your podcast, I will offer them a free consultation just on behalf of you. So I'll be sure to give you the link for that if anybody wants to pick my brain.
Appreciate that. I appreciate it. And I guess, one question I want to ask, because being the fact that you have all these courses and you're planning for a conference, I guess the one thing that's very important is your personal brand. And I
Yeah.
want to ask, what are some, real quickly, what are like three things you can attribute to your success as a financial coach, a financial mentor? that people respect, because you can see every day you hear something about some financial consultant or some financial person, and there people are finding it hard to trust people, when they're giving money advice. But what are three things that you're doing? Are you making sure you're consistently and put it in your team to make sure that your brand continues to grow and people view as a trustworthy brand?
Um, I feel like I really go the extra mile. I get that there's a lot of distrust on the internet. I mean, my gosh, I've FaceTime people to be like, hey, it's me. This is the real me. This is the real account. And I keep people around me who know my character as a person. So, for example, I have my AV coaching program. I've been doing this for 3 years now. The person who I hired to work that with me is someone who graduated from my program who significantly changed her life. She reached back out to me to be a part of to be a coach in the program. So, that just speaks to the fact that who I am is who I say I am, because the things I've heard her say is just beautiful. But it also says that, like, the program that I have, it works because she's able to walk them through the things and almost sound just like me. It's crazy. It's so cool. The other thing is, I allow people to express themselves freely, and I'm always open to constructive criticism. So, this has been a growing and a learning process for me over the years. I don't get everything right. I don't even try to pretend like I do. But um, when I talk to people and they tell me, like, hey, I wasn't really happy with this, I feel like you should work on that. I don't go back and forth with them. I take it down, take it as constructive criticism, and then I work to make it better in the future. So my goal isn't really to be like, I've never, honest to God, I never even wanted to be a social media influencer. That was never a goal. I just wanted to help people, but then people ended up liking my brand, and that's how it ended up growing. Um, I actually went 2 years without doing any brand partnerships because it was never a goal to be a social media influencer. So when people, they come to me, hopefully they trust me. I try my best to be as transparent as I can, but if they don't, I just wish that they find the person that resonates with them best. And when I can't help people, I try to point them in resources that will work for them.
Now, I want to definitely thank you for your time, Ms. Raquel Curtis. For someone, a young lady who may have listened through this whole episode, heard your story, heard how you overcome different challenges, but still is still struggling to see that light at the end of the tunnel, what would your word of wisdom be for this young lady or young guy?
Um, Failing is a part of the journey. Um, I failed a bunch of times. Uh, I failed a bunch of times. And, if you look at it and you're really working towards growing and doing better than where you were, 9 times out of 10, when you fail, you are still in a better position than you were before. The biggest thing that I would say is take a look at the mistakes that you continue to make, because you are likely repeating similar things in different situations because you haven't learned from the lesson yet. So just pay attention to that, and don't be afraid to hold accountability for some of the areas that you are in your life. Not everybody is an enemy. You're not the victim in every situation. Some of these things you caused on yourself. And you need to acknowledge that so you can grow from that. Whether that be financial, whether it be in your relationships, personal, love life, whatever. Just hold yourself accountable, take note of where you can grow, and move forward from there.
100% right. Thank you very much, Ms. Rockwell. And for those who are listening, I hope you guys don't see as another guest, another entrepreneur on the Wealth and Christ show. But I hope this encourages you and inspires you. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Stay blessed. And thank you again, Ms. Rockwell.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.